So welcome again to our satsang this morning. It's a joy to be with all of you for our ninth class together on Kena Upanishad. So in our last class, we completed part 1 of Kena Upanishad, consisting of 8 verses. This Kena Upanishad is a very short, one of the shorter Upanishads, but it has 4 sections. So in our class last time, we finished the 8 mantras in part 1 of the text. So today we will continue with part 2. But let me, as we begin, just offer a quick summary, not really a summary, but to lift up some of the important learnings from part 1. So we saw in part 1 the question of the student. What is that because of which I see, I hear, I think, I breathe? The student had this feeling that there was something deeper because of which the body, the mind, the senses function. So this is where the text started. Kene shitam patati preshitam manaha Kena prana pratama praiti yukta Kene shitam vachamimam vadanti chakshu srotram ka u devo yunakti. And then we saw the teacher's beautiful answers in a series of verses. He said, that which you ask about, that because of which you see, you hear, you taste, you smell, you touch, you think, we can speak of it as the eye of the eye, the air of the air, the mind of the mind, the speech of speech, the breath of breath. Srotrasya srotram, manaso mano yad, vacho havacham, sa upranasya prana, chakshusha chakshu. So we learned that what he is speaking here about is Atma, this non-material consciousness or awareness because of which the senses function, the mind can think, the body is alive. And we learned also that it is this Atma whose nature is Chaitanya or consciousness that lends this consciousness to the senses, to the body, to the mind. Even as the moon borrows the light of the sun, the moon has no light of its own. But when we say the moon is shining, the moon is actually reflecting the light of Surya, the light of the sun. So in a similar way, Atma, whose nature is to shine awareness, to shine as awareness, lends, as it were, this awareness to the senses, to the mind, to the body. It is that because of which the eyes see and so on. We also learned in this first section of Kena Upanishad that this Atma, whose nature is Chaitanya, consciousness or awareness, is not limited to the body. It extends beyond the body. It is one and the same in all bodies. And we learned this in a series of verses where the teacher, for example, said, Yan manasana manute yenahur manomatam tadeva brahma tvam vidhi. He repeated. That because of that which the mind cannot know, but because of which the mind knows, tadeva brahma tvam vidhi. That is Brahman. So for the first time in this text, he introduced the word Brahman and said that Atma is Brahman. This Brahman, because of which I see, is the Brahman because of which everyone sees, everyone thinks, everyone knows. There is one Atma that is non-different from Brahma. We also learned that that which we speak of as Atma, and we can use the word interchangeably, is not an object. It cannot be objectified. that which the eyes cannot see, but because of which the eyes see, that which the mind cannot think of, but because of which the mind thinks. It is that because of which body, mind, senses are all known, but which never becomes an object of any of these. This is also one of the important lessons of part one. So don't look for it. Don't look for it in the same way that we look for objects in the world. Even if it is a sacred object, he said. It is not wrong, as I explained last time, to see Brahman in a particular form, a particular sacred form. But the teaching of Kena Upanishad is that we should not limit this divine to any particular form. And I cited Bhagavad Gita again, Yo mam pashyati sarvatra, see me everywhere, see me in all forms, see all forms in me. So these were some of the important and very significant teachings of the text. In a sense, the very gist, the essence of this Upanishad is in part one of the text. In so many ways, everything else is elaboration. So today we will move on to part two of the Kena Upanishad. In this section, this is a section that consists, it's a shorter section of 5 verses. So we had we had 8 verses in the first section. So now part 2, we have 5 verses. And in this section, we have some exchange, some discussion between the guru and his shishyas, between the teacher and his or her students. So far, they have listened to the teacher. Now he seeks to engage them in an attempt to ascertain how well they have understood what he has been teaching them so far. So the guru, however, formulates his question to them. So he's about to ask them a question and to elicit a reply from them as a way of ascertaining how well they have understood what he has taught them. But he formulates his question with a caution, let me put it, with a caution that they should not rush to give him an answer. He wants them to think, give thought, give careful thought before answering. This is not to determine who is the brightest among you or who can just, repeat the right words. He wants to be certain that they have understood this teaching about the nature of Atman, nature of themselves. Because as we have seen, the subject of this inquiry is different from all other subjects of study. It's unique, it's special. Why? Because as we have, again, we've learned all through our discussion, the last 8 classes, it is not an object like everything else. It is unique. So as we begin the discussion of part 2 of Kena Upanishad, consisting of 5 verses, I want to remind you of one of the important mantras that we discussed earlier in part 1. And what is that mantra? You will recall the Guru saying that Atma is different from the known and the unknown. Different from the known and the unknown. The Sanskrit there is tad viditad ataha aviditat adhi. Tad viditat atha aviditat adhi. Different from both the known and the unknown. So that's going to be the significant mantra that he is going to focus on in his discussion with his students in part 2 of Kena Upanishad. So think about this. Not very difficult to understand. We classify objects in the world into two types. We place them into two categories. One is known, and the second is unknown. Something is known or something is unknown. And in one sense, all knowledge, whatever the subject matter is, whether it's, for example, the whole realm of scientific inquiry, we can describe scientific inquiry as a process of moving things from the category of unknown to the category of the known. That's what we are trying to do in research. All of our research, even about, this current virus. So many things about it remain unknown. We are experimenting, we are studying to do what? To move things that we don't know into the category of the known, moving from the unknown to the known. This is what we are doing in almost every field of knowledge. So this morning I said Kena Upanishad has 4 sections. If you did not know that before, it was in the category of the unknown. Now I have said it, it moves to the category of the known. So we are inclined, therefore, because this is what knowledge is about. So whenever we come to any learning, we bring that approach, we bring that disposition. Even when we come to study an Upanishad, even when we come to study together as we are doing Kena Upanishad, we are inclined to think in the same way about this study, the understanding of Atma, Brahma, that this is an unknown object that will, at the end of the study, will become known to us. But so far, Atma belongs to the category of the unknown, aviditad, and it will become viditad. It will become something that is known, that we will move it from the category of the unknown to the known. But here the teacher, he anticipates that. This is why in that mantra he says, he anticipates that the students will bring this approach and to think that this also belongs to unknown and it will become known. So he already, in part 1, issued this important statement that this is different from the known and unknown. What you're going to learn about is unique. It is different from the known and the unknown. So this is why I'm starting with that important line. Tad viditad atha aviditad adhi. Because we have never, this is the first time. This is the first time we are encountering a reality that is described in a conversation as different from the known and the unknown. Think about it. When have we ever heard something like that? That which we are learning about is different from both the known and the unknown. That's special. That's unique. This is a very important mantra in Kena Upanishad. Because if we say, I know Atma, then we are putting it into the category of known objects. I know. And if I say, I do not know, I'm putting into the category of unknown objects. If I say, Na Veda, I do not know it, then it becomes an unknown object that can be moved from the unknown to the known. So if I say Veda, I'm saying it's a known object, like other objects. And if I say Na Veda, not known or unknown, I am putting it in the category of the unknown. So the great care must be taken in how he wants to see how are his students going to describe what they understood? How careful are they going to be? If they have understood what Guruji has been teaching, they will have to come up with some very unique way of articulating this understanding. They have to find a way to express themselves, to demonstrate to their teacher that we understand what you mean when you say that it is different from the known and the unknown. And at the same time, they must avoid a third predicament. So if Atma does not belong to the category of the known object or the unknown object, then, does it mean that it's non-existent? There's nothing. After all, the categories of known and unknown seem to exhaust everything. Something is either known or something is unknown. What else is there? What other kind of reality is there? It's either viditad or aviditad, known or unknown. So one could come and say, well, we learned about Atma. It just doesn't exist. There is no Atma. So in this Upanishad, Kena Upanishad, and also, but this Upanishad does it in a very special and important way. This is, in fact, the beauty of Kena Upanishad. What does it say? It says that the categories of known and unknown do not exhaust reality. There is something more. There is something more. There is a third category. This is what section part 2 is going to tell us. There is a third category. There is something different from the known and the unknown. If I say it is not known and it is not unknown, different from the known and the unknown, I'm not saying it is non-existent. I am saying that there is a third category. There is a third category, different from the known and the unknown means there is another category. And what is that category? That category is the knower. So there is the known, there is the unknown, and there is the knower. Awareness. Because of which I know what I know, and I know what I do not know. Atma belongs to that third category. It is the knower, whose content is awareness, because of which all that transpires in the mind, because of which both knowledge and ignorance is known. So when we think of all of the verses in the first part of Kena Upanishad that we have studied, and we look at these verses carefully, you will see that they're always pointing to the knower. That which the eyes cannot see, but because of which the eyes see. That which the ear cannot hear, but because of which the ear hears. It is the eye of the eye, the ear of the ear. That which the mind cannot know as an object, but because of which which knows the mind. That which the eyes cannot see, but which knows the eyes. That which the mind cannot think of, but which knows the mind. Knower, whose nature is awareness. So we have seen those verses. So this is where the teacher starts in part 2. He's asking them, we assume, so please keep in mind, as I said before, that every Upanishad is a summary of a more extensive discussion. It preserves the core elements of this discussion, but because of these texts to be memorized. So the teacher is going to ask them a question, but as I said in verse 9, he gives issues of caution. So he wants them to express their understanding, but he says to them, Yadi manyase suvede iti daharam eva vapi nunam. So he says there is no doubt. If you answer my question, yadi manyase, yadi means if, Manyase, if you think or if you say, if you answer my question by thinking or say, what? Suveda iti. I know it. I know it. If you tell me I know it well. I know it very well. Suveda iti. I know this very well. If you tell me, then I have no doubt. Dharameva api nunam. I have no doubt that you do not know, that you have not understood, or you have understood very little, that you have not understood or you have understood very little. If you tell me that you know well, you have not, or you have understood very little. Maybe you're still thinking, Tvam Veta Brahmano Rupam Yadasya Tvam, that it is something in you, something small in you, or even in a divine being, but you have not understood. And if you tell me that, then he says, Mimam siyemeva te manye viditam. Then you have to continue studying. You have to continue listening, reflecting, assimilating. You have not understood. So he issues this warning to them. He says, obviously you're going to tell me I've understood it, but that's not a good answer to what I have been trying to teach you. You have to think more carefully in order to give me an answer that convinces me that you have understood what I am saying. So, in fact, Shankara says in his commentary on this first verse of part 2 that the students actually had to go back. They had to go back. For how long, we don't know, but they had to go back again and think through how they are going to articulate what the Guru has told them. So he gives this warning. Obviously, they were still thinking of it as an object of some kind, and they had to continue studying with him. So in verse 10, at the end of verse 9 and verse 10, we get a second response, or we get a response from the student again, from a student. Manye viditam. So this is what his student says. This is mantra 10, in case you are looking at the text. Naham manye suvedeti nona vedeti vedacha. So very different answer from what we heard, what the teacher said. Naham manye suvedeti nona vedeti vedacha. So now one of the students says, I will not say that I know it. I do not say. Naham manye suvedeti. I am not saying. I do not say to you now, Guruji, I know it. And so I will not put Brahman into the category of the known object. I will not objectify it. I'm not formulating a sentence as to indicate that somehow I am treating Atma or Brahman, synonymous, as an object. That's the first statement that the student makes. Naham manye suvedeti. I don't say I know it, because it is an object. Then will I say I do not know? Will I put it in the unknown category? He says, na veda iti no manye. And I will not say I do not know. I will not say I know it, and I will not say I do not know it. It's a very beautiful sentence. Naham manye suvedeti no na vedeti vedacha. I understand, in other words, myself, Atma, as different from known and unknown. I can't say I know it, and I can't say I do not know it. I know it as different from known and unknown. And what do I know, therefore? I know it as myself, the knower, my own self, which is never an object. So the entire first line of mantra 10 should be understood in this way. I do not consider that I know Brahman as an object. I do not consider that I do not know Brahma as an object. I understand Brahman, myself, to be other than the known and the unknown. I understand Brahman to be myself, the knower. I understand Brahman as myself. I claim Brahman as myself. This is the meaning of the first half of this sloka. So finally, a student has grasped it and articulates it in this very unique way, about which only Atman can be spoken. Everything else we can say it is known or it is unknown. Only Atman can be understood as different from the known and the unknown. And the student has found a way to say that to his teacher. And so the teacher or the student himself, perhaps the teacher adds, Yo nastad deva tad eva. No na vedeti vedacha. Whoever understands it in this way, different from the known and the unknown, understands. Teacher says yes. Any one of you among us here, so we assume many students in the class, anyone who understands it in this way truly understands. In other words, there's only one way in which the nature of Atman can be understood, and that is as one's own self. The light of awareness, because of which all senses are known, the body is known, all movements, all thoughts, all emotions are known. One who understands it in this way understands it. Yo nastadeva tad Veda. No vedeti Veda Vedacha. This is the second line of verse 10. So then mantra 11 continues. The teacher is affirming here. You can say the Upanishad or the teacher is affirming here what the student has said. So after asking a question and finally getting a reply that indicates that the students understand the nature of Atma as a non-object, as the subject, as the self of all, the teacher is now affirming, yes, if you understand in this way, you truly understand. And so we get a very beautiful mantra 11. Mantra 11 is so splendid. It uses this beautiful language of paradox. That's one way to talk about it, to describe this knowledge, and of course to describe the nature of the Atman. Yasya matam, tasya matam. It is known. Yasya matam. Yasya matam. Amatam means unknown. It is, this is a paradox. Tasya matam. It is known, tasya matam, to the one to whom it is unknown. Unknown as an object. We have to always add. Yasya matam, tasya matam. It is known to the one to whom it is unknown as an object, to whom it is not an unknown object. Matam yasya na veda saha. He does not know or she does not know who knows it as an object. It is known to the one to whom it is unknown as an object. It is not known to the one who thinks of it as an object. Avigyatam vijanatam. Vijanatam, it is known, again, vijanatam, it is known to the one, avigyanatam, to whom it is unknown as an object. Vijatam, vijatam avijanatam. And known, it is known to those who do not know it, again, as an object. We always have to read here as an object for this verse to make sense. Because what it is doing here is simply highlighting the uniqueness of Brahma Jnana, of Atma Jnana, using the language of paradox. Whoever knows Brahman as an object does not know. Whoever does not know Brahman as an object knows. This is the point of mantra 11. The one who knows is the one who has come to appreciate Brahman as himself, as the self whose nature is awareness. And until that knowledge dawns, one has to continue with listening, sravana, study, manana, reflection, and contemplation, assimilation, nididhyasana. Because if you remember, and many of you were there in the classes we had on Nirvana Shatakam. If you remember, in each verse, what was the culmination of the knowledge in Nirvana Shatakam? Chidananda Rupa Shivoham Shivoham Aham, I am. You know, this Chidananda Rupa. Chit is awareness. Chidananda Rupa, that awareness which is timeless, which exists in all periods of time, past, present, future, in all states, in waking state, dream state, sleep state, that I am. Aham, asmi, that I am. That's the culmination of knowledge, where one ceases to objectify Atma. So if anyone says, I saw my Atma, I had an experience, it was a strange experience, and in this experience, I had a vision of my Atma. Then Kena Upanishad would ask, who had that vision? Who was seeing? If you saw an object, then you didn't see. You didn't understand. You didn't see Atma. You saw some form, sacred form, maybe, very good. I'm not saying that such experiences are not possible, but that's not what the Upanishad is teaching, because Atma is never an object of the mind, it's never an object of any experience. You know, if Atma is an experience or an object of experience, it will come and it will go. When the experience comes, Atma is. When the experience goes, Atma goes. Here in the Kena Upanishad, Atma always is, shining as one's own self. And here, this is why in one of the great sentences of the Upanishads is Aham. This is also how knowledge is articulated. Aham Brahma Asmi. I am. Not that I know it, but I am. I'm that. And the I here is not the body, the senses, or the mind, but Atma, whose nature is awareness. So in this mantra, the teacher confirms what his student has said. And said, yes, you have understood it because you are no longer thinking of it as an object, either known object or an unknown object. It is your own, you've come to understand it as your own true self, because of which everything is known. It is that light because of which everything is revealed to you. So we always have to keep in mind, as I said, and this is where the teaching tradition comes into being, because what is important here, if we understand Kena Upanishad to be saying absolutely that Brahman can never be known, Atman can never be known, then there is no moksha. What the text is saying in all of this is that it has to be known in a special way because it is a special object. And therefore, all descriptions of it must be unique because we are speaking about something, there's nothing like it. There's nothing like it. It is unique. And therefore, when we speak of it, when we teach of it, we have to teach and speak in ways that are faithful to its unique nature. We cannot say it is known. We cannot say it is unknown. When we understand, we can only say it is myself. We have to be so careful about any language that objectifies, any experience that seems to objectify, because as we will see, as the teacher continues now, any experience that objectifies Atman is misleading. It is not faithful to what the teacher here is unfolding in this beautiful text to his students. Now he continues, there are there are three more important mantras in this second section, where he develops this idea, that Atman is always present. It is not an object of thought, but it is present in each thought. It is present in every state, every condition of the mind. And when we continue, then I will discuss next time we meet these two mantras, mantras 4 and mantras 5, and then we will complete the second section of Kena Upanishad. The third section is also very beautiful. It tells a wonderful story that brings all of this wisdom together. So that's a section that we can go through rather quickly. We have built the foundation now in these 9 classes that makes the rest of the text much easier for us to understand. So we will end here. I don't see any questions in the chat today. Maybe you are all apprehensive about how you will articulate this understanding, like the students in Kena Upanishad. But when you think about it, it is such a beautiful teaching in this text. It's not. These are not statements made, flippantly. These are statements made in the Upanishad because there is something so profound to be said, something so beautiful, and all of it comes back to us. The text is really revealing the beauty that you are, the beauty that every being is, who is this reality, this self. And that's why we say, Brahma Ved, Brahma Eva Bhavati. One who knows Brahman owns Brahman as one's own self. When we learn about other things, we're not learning about ourselves, but here, Brahma Vid, Brahma Eva Bhavati. One who knows Brahman discovers Brahman to be one's own.